Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far. Once again, we're with you this morning to talk about a lot of things, and the big topic is going to be this pattern shift that's already beginning. We're kind of in the first stages of it, but the real true Arctic air mass will not come in until probably over the next several days. And with this, there's going to be winter storm chances. There's one coming up later this weekend into early next week that we need to speak a lot on. And then your chances for winter weather will shift south gradually. So we're going to speak on that also. The first thing we'll speak on is the latest from the Climate Prediction Center and their graphics. I feel like it's important to start these videos off by speaking on what the experts are saying from the National Weather Service. So we will do that. After we get done doing that, we'll talk about what some of these models are showing as far as how cold it could potentially get compared to your average temperatures, whatever they are for this time of the year. Of course, it depends, with what state you live in, what area of the country you live in, with what your average temperatures are. So if your average temperature is 45 degrees for a high this time of the year and they're calling for 25 degrees below average, then, you might be stuck in the 20s for highs. So that's just a quick example of that. After we get done discussing that, we'll begin to really dive deep into this winter storm threat that's going to impact areas of the country as we get later into this weekend into early next week. We'll really zoom into individual areas, compare model guidance, and get you guys a really good idea as far as timing of when this will move in, when this will move out. But this will be a high impact winter storm. And for some areas, your biggest winter storm since maybe 2021. So we'll speak on that. And then we'll talk about the fan favorite, which I'm assuming is the fan favorite, and that is winter storm chances for the South. Everything will be sectioned out well on that. We'll talk about the South Central U.S., we'll talk about the Southeast U.S., and once again, we'll compare model guidance, and we'll talk about the latest information from overnight into this morning. Timestamps are up throughout the entire video, folks. Take advantage of them. My videos are very long, very detailed for any new viewers. So there's a solid chance you're going to figure out what you're looking for. You just got to kind of maneuver through the timestamps. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And the most important thing of all, if you folks got anything that I can pray about or anyone can pray about, because sometimes I do miss these prayer requests, but we have a lot of prayer warriors in the comments. Please put it in the comments below so we can pray over your prayer request and others have an opportunity to do so too. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is the latest from the Climate Prediction Center. We've been starting all these videos off by showing you this, and this is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. So I click this, and this is running through the 7th of January through the 11th. So if you live in this purple shaded color, that is an 80% chance of temperatures being below normal. This darker blue is a 70% chance. This shade of blue 60, this is 50, this is 40, and this is a 33% chance. If you're wondering what this grayed out color is, that's just like 36% chance of temperatures being near normal. So they're going for around normal temperatures in that area. Now, if you kind of freeze this in your head, this graphic, if you will, and you compare it over or underlap it with the precipitation outlook in the same time frame. Now, there's a good chunk of where the core of the coldest air is going to be that could lean towards a drier scenario, and that is quite possibly a possibility. So one thing you'll notice, though, is, and I will click this, is a 40% chance of precipitation being below normal. It's leaning dry in this area, 33% chance, and then you got the grayed out area, around a chance of average precipitation. But if you look down here, Austin down to Brownsville, and then, from southern Georgia throughout the rest of Florida, leaning towards wetter conditions. And wetter conditions could mean wintry conditions in this pattern coming up. So 33% chance of precipitation being above normal. This is a 40% chance, and this darker green is a 50% chance. This pattern does support winter weather for not only the South, but real deep areas of the South. Dare I say the Gulf coastline. It supports it. Could be a pattern where there's a higher chance there than it is to the north. And we'll talk about why as we move throughout the video. So we'll go on and switch this and go back to the temperature outlook, zoom in out a little bit, and we'll go to the 8 to 14 day outlook. The core of the coldest air looks to move and shift to the eastern U.S. So this is running through about mid-month. We'll get technical with it through the 9th and the 15th of January. And going for an 80% chance of temperatures being below normal. This is 70, this is 60, 50, 40, 33. So once again, you kind of visualize this graphic in your head, and we'll flip it to the precipitation outlook in the same time frame. And it doesn't change much, still hanging on to a chance of slightly above average precipitation in this time frame. But if you notice, the grayed out area has shifted a little bit further north, so going for around average precipitation in this time frame in that grayed out area, and then leaning dry and just going all out for drier conditions in this area in brownish, kind of yellowish color, kind of tan sand color, if you will. So that's what we're looking at right now as far as the Climate Prediction Center. Now, the National Weather Service has issued some graphics, and this will kind of lead us to what we're about to talk about. So they updated this yesterday, and they're saying, hey, January 4th through the 6th, which is up in the next couple days, there's going to be a winter storm that's going to break out across the Central Plains all the way through the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, into the Mid-Atlantic. Now, you can freeze the video if you want and read this. This is also available on the National Weather Service site. I think it's the Weather Prediction Center site, actually. And winter storm potential increasing, widespread heavy snow possible. This is the main lines here. Significant icing possible potential across the Mid-South in this pink area right here. An ice storm is definitely going to be an element of this winter storm. And of course, it says additional forecast changes are anticipated. So, nifty little graphic from the National Weather Service. And then, just to kind of give you a teaser of what we're about to talk about, they issued this yesterday. Now, this is experimental. Some people take this and run with it a little bit too much. And yes, it does even excite me. But this is the risk of heavy snow. And you got this highlight area from the 9th through the 13th, and this kind of purple dashed area. And there's a slight risk also for the areas of the South. I mean, stretching from west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area all the way up to Norfolk, Virginia. And everybody including this area. This includes areas of the Deep South. I mean, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and the Carolinas, and southern sections of Tennessee. Of course, we can't ignore you folks up here. Slight risk of heavy snow also. So, it's not just me that sees it. It's not just Billy Bob down the street that sees it or your weather app that sees it. It's the National Weather Service that sees it also. So let's continue to move forward and let's look at the latest from the Euro Ensemble overnight. So we're going to go on and skip ahead a little bit to about the 5th of January. I'm going to say this many times because I'm going to forget to mention days. It's 45, 50 minutes straight of talking. Sometimes my mouth takes over for my brain. And I outrun my brain in these videos. I really do. I think that's literally a thing. But January 5. Don't focus too much on the Zulu time right now, okay? So we're already going to be chilly to downright cold across the eastern U.S. Already a cold air mass, and this is when that winter storm will start to be moving through here. And then we're going to have a spike in this warm sector up here. There will be the potential for some severe weather, in fact, likely severe weather, especially Sunday across areas of the south central U.S., especially, I would say, just basically in the kind of the southern Mississippi Valley area. But you see these blues and these greens and even this shade of whitish purple that is well below average temperature. So as we move forward here, I think a big front will move through and really cool us down. And as we start to get, let's go all the way to the morning of Tuesday, January 7th. Kind of our first shot of cold air moves through, and this will be cold. Remember, January climate-wise is your coldest month of the year for just about everybody. I can't think of anybody where January is not your coldest month of the year in the lower 48. So this green color, that's like 10 to 15 degrees below average. Once you start to get into this whitest shade of purple, that's getting over 15 degrees below average. So if your average temperature, for example, is 50 degrees, then your high is maybe in the 30s. And if you're like, Mitch, I don't know what my average temperature is as far as high or low temperatures, there's definitely ways to find out. Just literally go to the National Weather Service. For example, if you live in Columbia, go to just type in National Weather Service Columbia, and it'll be the first link, and it's going to say your average temperatures. It also says it on the Weather Channel app. A lot of people have that app. It might have it on your specific weather app, but there's many ways to find what your average temperatures are for this time of year. I can tell you if you live in the Deep South, the South, usually your average temperatures around this time of year are in the 50s as far as highs, lows in the 30s, okay, give or take 5 degrees. So let's get that out the way there. But anyways, you continue to move forward here, and it really expands. And by the time, folks, you get into Wednesday morning, and I really think it's picking up on this shade of really well below average temperatures here, at like 20 to 25 degrees below average, is because it's picking up on snowpack from the winter storm we're about to talk about. So this is frigid temperatures all the way down to Florida. So like I said, green, 10, 15 degrees below average. And folks, this continues. I mean, it really, really gets into a true Arctic air mass as we start to get into the eastern U.S., as we get into later next week. Very cold temperatures. This could expand back east. We may have reinforcing shots of cold air. I think it's going to get cold, but I think models are still struggling with the true depth of this cold. I really do. I think that this is still a bit of a question mark as far as how cold it's going to be. Is it historic cold as far as you're going to break record highs, break record lows and stuff like that? I'm not quite sure, but I mean, once you start to get into like next Saturday, folks, I mean, that is, like I said, upwards to 20 degrees below average off the Euro ensemble. Okay, and then it begins to moderate. We get past 10 days out, still very chilly, but that 10 to 15 day range, it begins to moderate. But one thing I'll notice there is it looks like a lot of cold air is kind of cooped up to the eastern U.S. and then expands back west again. So it's interesting development. We're still watching this, but it's cold throughout, all the way through like the third week of January. So moving past that, let's talk about the winter storm that we are very confident that is going to happen as we get into this weekend, into early next week. So starting off for Saturday morning, once again, confused about the timing we're in. SAT4, Saturday, the 4th of January. It says it over here too. If you're watching on your phone, it's probably pretty small, but it's there. And I'll continue to try to mention it as we move forward. We're going to get a lot of amped up moisture that starts to surge into the middle of the country. The pink is freezing rain. Any orange colors you see on your screen, that's sleet. Blue is snow. So we start getting to Saturday afternoon. We're starting to get freezing rain breaking out across sections of Kansas, as you can tell. Some light to moderate snow in Nebraska up into the Dakotas. Now this snow will have a much higher snowfall ratio because it's falling in much colder temperatures. We got snow flying around the high northern plains, the Rockies, and then we make our way into the middle of the night, Saturday night into Sunday. We have an all-out winter storm breaking out across sections of Missouri. This is an ice storm. There's going to be just a cutoff where where's the cutoff going to be on the northern extent of this, of snow to nothing and then snow to ice. And that cutoff could be around Kansas City as far as snow to ice. But look at all this freezing rain in central sections of Kansas. Snow back here, freezing rain moving into Missouri. And then we start to move it into Sunday morning. And could start out as snow maybe in St. Louis. But I'm going to go towards the Euro with this. And we're only going to show the Euro because the GFS has just been wobbling back and forth. The Euro has kind of stayed steady. The GFS has ticked towards the Euro. So we're going to stick with this model for now. And here it is. I mean, you got just a corridor of freezing rain from eastern sections of Kansas into central Missouri, starting to get into southern Illinois. There's going to be very heavy snow on the northern side, this freezing rain and sleet. And you continue to go, and cold air is kind of bogging down on this system. So you could go from freezing rain, sleet to heavy snow in like Kansas City. And look at the back end heavy snow here and sections of northern and eastern Kansas. And this winter storm continues. It looks like Arkansas, you're out in the woods for a winter storm with this. It looks like you're going to stay mainly rain. Could get severe weather from this, actually. And then, I mean, just check it out. It looks like the actual low pressure gets shunted south a little bit. And you go to just an all-out. There's a chance that you could go from a freezing rain to a snowstorm in areas of Missouri with this system. We're getting into Sunday evening, and this continues into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. And if you're wondering why aren't you mentioning Indiana and Ohio and more of Illinois, I'm about to here in a second. But this continues to move out, and by the time we get into Monday, it clears out. But it's going to put a swath of destructive ice and very heavy snow. Now let's go on and switch it to the eastern U.S. I'm not going to leave you guys hanging, of course, but you continue to move forward here. And this is around Sunday midday. We got a snowstorm moving through across northern Missouri, central Illinois, central and south central Indiana. Heavy snow moving into northern sections of Kentucky, moving into southwest Ohio. We got snow moving into West Virginia. Around this point, Sunday, we have in a corridor freezing rain in the pink. And central to south central Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and then a good chunk of Kentucky, even some ice showing up in the Cumberland Plateau of Tennessee. Cannot rule out freezing rain for areas of northern Tennessee, just in general also. We got lake effect snows ongoing. It's one thing I've not mentioned much because there's so much going on. That lake effect snow will be popping off. Then we start to make it into Sunday evening. Winter storm begins to move into the Washington, D.C. area. South, we're getting snow, but we're starting to mix with some freezing rain down here in southern and southwestern Virginia. I think that'll be another hot spot for ice. And then here comes the low pressure plowing right into southern Kentucky. I think that'll switch you to rain, kind of save you from destructive ice. But, I could see northern Kentucky going from snow to freezing rain and sleet. And then how far north does this snow line get? Does it make it all the way up to Chicago? I know you folks who are winter weather fans up there have not seen much of a winter lately. And then unfortunately, if it is unfortunate for you, it looks like it's going to miss you to the south. But Indianapolis, I know I got a guy that tunes in from that area. Me and him always like to cut up with one another a little bit. But it looks like you're going to get a winter storm in Indianapolis. We're going to get some heavy snow in Illinois. And then look at it. I always get people from Ohio saying we always miss it. I think this is going to get you in central to southern Ohio. Now, once you get to further south in Ohio, you could mix with some freezing rain. But this looks like a big event for West Virginia, especially the northern sections of West Virginia. We got heavy snow late Sunday night. And there's so much to go over. Such a large, broad storm. We take it to like the wee hours of the morning, Monday morning, January the 6th. It is snowing like crazy in the Washington, D.C. area. And when this low pressure plowing right towards you, we're getting a lot of warm and moist air aloft, which means we're getting, the column is saturated. We'll start to talk about, like soundings and stuff like that. People might wonder, Mitch, why do we get freezing rain? Why do we get snow? We will have a segment for that as we especially get probably into the early portion of this coming weekend. But snow even starts to make it to the New York City area. And, you guys are plenty cold enough from New York City to Boston. It's just the precipitation is having a hard time getting that far north. But, the latest Euro run, and we actually do have an 06Z run. So, yeah, the latest 06Z run, about the same, not a whole lot different. In fact, it's ticked a little bit further north. So, this really, it's kind of north, but at the same time, once you get into the eastern U.S., you get cold air damming that really takes over. And it could actually push the precipitation further south. So, for example, this is Monday morning. This is bringing a big-time winter storm across the Delmarva area. It's a quick hitting one. So you could get heavy snow, a swath of several inches of snow across areas of the Delmarva, Delaware, all the way to the Tidewater, all the way to southeast VA. No, but this could be some very heavy snow Monday into New Jersey. And then if you have mixing issues in West Virginia, I think some cold air moves back behind this, and we could end up getting some moderate snow behind this. And, if you're wondering about the mountains of North Carolina, I do think we're going to get a lot of freezing rain. And it could hang on to freezing rain for the entirety of the event before snow begins to kind of move in from the backside of the system. And then we're done. It's a lot, right? Is a lot to go over, and we hadn't even got to the southern threat yet. So what about the blend of all models for South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska? So I think South Dakota is good for several inches of snow. The snowfall ratios will be much higher in this area. There's even pockets of over 6 inches of snow. I know this doesn't show cities, towns, and stuff on here, and I wish it did, but it just don't here. But as far as the blend of all models down in Nebraska, as you can tell, going for a few inches of snow for Nebraska, especially southeastern sections of the state. And you look at Iowa. Is there going to be a sharp cutoff in Iowa? Northern Iowa, not much snow. Central to southern Iowa could get a few to as much as several inches of snow, especially once you get into the southern counties of the state. Now let's go down to Kansas. Kansas already has winter storm watches up for this area right here. So going for a few inches in like central Kansas. Once you get closer to Kansas City, you're going for over a half a foot of snow. So they're leaning towards a little bit more snow in Kansas City on the blend of all models. Now, I have some back and forth of this for sure. But I think this will be a powerful winter storm even for Kansas. So I just kind of want to have a separate segment for you guys because there isn't really a great broad look at this off Weather Bell. But this is snow for this area. Hopefully you kind of know where you are in the state of Kansas if you live here. And this is freezing rain. So you get the several inches of snow, and then you got a signal for freezing rain, especially once you get into the eastern sections of the state. Few 100ths of an inch of ice. Getting over a 1/10 of an inch of ice in this darker pink area. Now, what is, say, the GFS showing? Well, what is the latest Euro showing for this area? And I don't know why it does that. Yeah, it is hitting Kansas hard. Heavy snow. Now, let's go to, that's even more. Sheesh. Let's stick with this, 10-to-1 ratio. It's wanting to drop over a foot of snow in areas of Kansas right here. Heavy snow creeping up close to Lincoln. Not as much snow in like Omaha, but it wants to drop like 8 to 12 inches of snow in Kansas City. And we'll stick with the blend of all models with the freezing rain because the global models tend to overdo freezing rain. But that is a hit for Kansas. And then we'll go on and switch it to the Midwest. Now, I want to start this off by showing you this swath of snow up here. This will happen over the next 48 hours. This is a clipper that's going to bring a few inches of snow for areas of Iowa into northern Illinois and even into Indiana and eventually Ohio. So this will add into the totals I'm about to show you. Now watch how the screen lights up as we get into the weekend. Okay, we're getting, boom, there it is right there. This is the winter storm we just broke down. So this is snowfall as far as the blend of all models. For example, St. Louis wants to go for 6 to 10 inches of snow. Really, it's the northern half of Missouri that's got several inches of snow. It begins to drop off in southern areas of Missouri. And then we got Illinois here. Really wants to jackpot central Illinois and central Indiana with anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of snow. And yeah, I mean, this is a strong signal for snow in these areas. Chicago, the blend of all models, going for around 1 to 2 inches of snow. But the thing that I'm the most concerned about, guys, is this freezing rain. You notice this is the snow, this is the freezing rain. Watch how it ticks south. So it's going to be south of the highest snowfall totals. So, for example, the blend of all models going for several inches of snow in St. Louis, but also a little bit of freezing rain. So it's really positioning the heaviest freezing rain in the south central sections of Missouri, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, and then getting into western sections of Kentucky, where you guys could get 1, 2, maybe 3/10 of an inch of ice of freezing rain. And if you don't know, if you think, hey, a couple tenths of an inch of something sounds hardly like nothing. Once you start to get into ice storm criteria ice, that's about 1/4 inch of ice or more. But if you mix snow with, say, freezing rain, it causes a lot of issues. Then you throw some sleet in there. Sleet is very slick. Models do a terrible job of doing sleet accumulation, an awful job. So that's why I don't hardly ever show it, and it always overdoes it. But this is a nasty corridor of freezing rain, folks. If you live in these areas of Missouri, Indiana, Illinois, and western Kentucky, I mean, there could even be a little bit of freezing rain in northern Arkansas. This is a serious deal, guys. So let's go on and switch it back to snow, and let's look at what maybe some global models are showing. And we'll look at this, and you can see how the global models are obviously going to kind of tuck in the axis of snow, but it matches the blend of all models well. It totally whiffs Chicago, but it really puts a corridor of heavy snow, just like the blend of all models shows, from the northern half of Missouri through sections of Illinois and Indiana here. Okay, so and then we look at, say, the latest GFS, and I think that the GFS is potentially overdoing this, but it wants to put a swath of a foot and a half of snow in those same areas. I don't think this much snow is going to fall, guys. Even more with this. But yeah, so that's a lot. I do want to go and switch it back to the Euro. Nah, can't do it. Forgot I can't do it, but that's a lot of snow. Now let's switch it to a little bit further east. So this is going to include now all of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. So, like Illinois and Indiana, you're going to get double dipped here a little bit. So like I said, this is the first little swath of accumulating snow from this clipper over the next 48 hours that's going to impact you guys. We'll talk about that more in the actual today's forecast. I mean, so you're already going to get a dusting to a couple inches of snow off this. But watch what's to come. And boom, there's the main event that moves in later this weekend, early next week. Like I said, Indianapolis, the blend of all models, is going for almost 10 inches of snow. Cincinnati, Dayton, several inches of snow. You get down to, say, Louisville, maybe a little bit less. But once you get into central Ohio, this could be your big storm that you've been looking for. Anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of snow in Ohio, just depending on your location. It just depends on when you live. That's why it's important. I know some people put on their headphones and just listen to these videos, but when we're talking about like snowfall totals, ice totals, it's probably better to look at it, because I can't mention every single town and city in these states, guys. I wish I could, but man, I'd just be talking my entire life if I did that. But northern Kentucky, several inches of snow, getting over a half a foot in the far northern sections of Kentucky. This is a big deal. Even a little bit of a dusting of snow with this signal down south. And here's the ice. Serious deal, guys. It kind of begins to drop off in eastern Kentucky, but I'm telling you, if you live in this darker shade of pink here, that's where you can get over 1/10 of an inch of ice mixed with snowfall. And it begins to drop off once you get into the central sections of the Ohio Valley. But listen, I mean, a few 100ths of an inch of ice mixed with 6 inches of snow is going to cause massive travel disruption with this. This isn't going to just be either rain or snow. You're going to have a transition area like you see here where you're going to get freezing rain. Now let's look at the latest Euro, and let's look at this and that. And that is what it shows for the latest European model. So the latest 06Z puts the axis of the heaviest snow really for southern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, and northern sections of Kentucky. It really wants to put, now this is going to, I'm just going to say it. This is going to, I'm not going to say it. This is going to make some people mad. This storm is going to absolutely irritate the mess out of somebody. And I can already visualize the comments when we get into Wednesday of next week saying, you know, you said this, you said that. But somebody's going to get whiffed in this storm as far as snowfall total. You know, this snowfall could trend a little bit further north. So somebody that was expecting snow might just get an ice storm. The axis of the snow could trend a little bit of south. And then maybe like Indianapolis gets completely whiffed and, you know, 50 miles to your south gets 6 inches of snow. This is that type of storm, guys. So just remember that, you know, certainly have grace with your local meteorologist. It's a tough job, guys. It is. So, and anyways, you continue to move into the mid-Atlantic. What are they saying? Well, this is the blend of all models, folks. Going for over 6 inches of snow in Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. This would be a big one. The Delmarva, Delaware, folks, 5 to 6 inches of snow. Southern New Jersey, 5 inches. You know, New York City going for a few inches of snow. Southern sections of PA, 3 to as much as 5, 6, 7 inches of snow right in here. You get closer, closer to those higher elevated regions of like the Allegheny Mountains, for example, could get over a half a foot. Going for over 6 inches of snow in Pittsburgh. And then look at West Virginia. I mean, this is a mixture between many things. I mean, northwest flow snow, that clipper, and then the actual snow event that's on the way. And certainly going to get a lot of snow from this setup. Now, we look at the icing situation in this. I really think this will be, let's look at this. I really think this could be a big deal for southwestern VA. And then this section of southeastern West Virginia. So a few 100ths of an inch of ice showing up throughout almost all of Virginia. And then here's another look at the snow here. I know my guy up here, I think winters beat him down a lot. I forgot your name. I don't think your name is in your username, but he lives in Charleston, West Virginia. Man, hopefully you can get some snow out of this. I really do. But this does look like one of those events where the low pressure is going to get really close to you guys. But here's a little bit of snow adding up in the Smokies and the Southern Alps. You're going to mix this with freezing rain. And it's definitely going to be some issues with this. But let's go back to the Mid-Atlantic and let's look at the latest Euro model. This, and I mean, check it out. The Euro model actually slams south of DC, includes DC, but it actually gets into starts to get into the Tidewater. I mean, wants to dump 6 to 7 inches of snow on DC, and you have this axis of very heavy snow in northern VA. I mean, I'm talking about 6 to 10 inches of snow. Delaware, this could be a big one for you guys. This is going to be a big one for someone, maybe for a lot of people. And this is the GFS, axis of heavy snow, actually a little bit north. So the Euro's ticked a little bit south, GFS a little bit north, but the GFS hits DC and Baltimore with over a half a foot of snow. Look at western Maryland getting over a foot. And then GFS doesn't give anything for New York City. And I know I got people tuning in from southern New England. The storm, unless it makes a pretty significant shift north, and it could, it's going to be tough sledding getting snow up here, literally. So moving past this, let's talk about the risk of snow for the South. So let's break down the latest GFS first. And what we'll do here, we'll compare the GFS with the Euro, with the Canadian, even the Euro AI model for the South Central U.S. We'll talk about how much snow some of this ensemble and blend of all models are showing. And then we'll do the exact same thing for the Southeast, which includes my friends in Georgia, the Carolinas, and surrounding states. So South Central first. GFS, what does it have? An area of moderate snow breaking down and kind of coming down areas of east of the Rockies. This dives down. It kind of fizzles apart. Light snow in Amarillo. Remember, timestamps up here, January 8th. Wednesday, look at the winter weather breaking out across Texas down here. We're starting to get some snow. And here comes round number 1. This is getting into Wednesday evening. This is not a forecast, guys. We're getting a lot of back and forth of model guidance. And we're going to continue to get back and forth. So I want to say that before we get deep into the southern section of this video. But that's a light and moderate wintry mix breaking out across central Texas. It's even starting to move into northern Louisiana. And then a major winter storm breaks out across central Texas. This is a swath of very heavy snow across central Texas, starting to move into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We got freezing rain down into the Austin area. Remember, sleet's orange. Freezing rain is in the pink. We got a wintry mix moving into the Shreveport area, northern sections of Louisiana. Big winter storm, I would say south and west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and this continues, folks. And then we get a big winter storm moving into Mississippi. Freezing rain. It just look at this and say, hey, a big old winter storm for the southern U.S. is showing up on the GFS. And this continues. We start to get snow into Arkansas. Snow starting to get all the way up to Memphis, northern Mississippi. And then it clears on out. And does anything happen after that? I think we should show that too, because models are starting to bite on another area of energy behind us, another opportunity, I would say. Some snow diving through. They're getting into like Friday and Saturday now. Some snow diving from Missouri all the way to Arkansas, and then we go all the way to the end of the run. It pops off another winter storm, a lot more warm air involved as we get into the end of next weekend, and then it moves on out. And then we'll kind of stop it right there. Okay, what about the Euro? What is the Euro saying with this? Well, here comes heavy snow break coming down the Rockies as we're getting into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Getting into the 8th, we got heavy snow moving into Amarillo, and it looks like it's about to do something here, and the energy gets squashed. So that's a pretty big difference, right, between the Euro and the GFS. Energy gets completely squashed here. And does anything else follow? Little bit of snow kind of dives down. And I can tell you, the Euro is just a complete whiff. And it does show a big-time winter storm that breaks out, like, way out there, like the 13th, 14th of January. But, and I could see this happening. I think the pattern will continue to be amped up till the very end of this pattern, which not sure when that's going to be. But this does deliver a winter storm way on out there. But this is really outside the time period of interest that I'm watching. We go all the way to the end, and that's about it. So what about the Canadian model? Does it still show anything for the south central U.S.? Well, here's that snow coming down to New Mexico out of Colorado. This will bring a very cold snowfall across western Texas. And here it is. The Canadian still getting into Wednesday afternoon, January the 8th, brings a light wintry mix across Texas. And but it remains light. But it wants to bring winter weather all the way down to almost Houston, all the way down to the Gulf coastline, Louisiana, all the way. I mean, it brings a wintry mix, folks, Thursday morning, January the 9th, all the way into New Orleans, Baton Rouge. And then it brings another round after this as we're getting into Friday. See how the models are struggling? And then that kind of fizzles out. So, yeah. Now, the Euro AI model, it kind of follows the Euro model. It's a whiff. It breaks out moisture, but it breaks it out further to the east. And Texas doesn't get any moisture. Nothing out of it. And it does show kind of that amped up storm in the longer range. So the Euro AI model is a miss. So what about the blend of all models? What is it showing now? Latest information. Here it comes. You can see the signal. You see up here, this is for what we just talked about, right? And then you're going to see a signal for snow down here in Texas. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mitch, that is nothing. 1/10 of an inch of snow. This is going to bounce back and forth, guys. This is less than what it showed in last night's video if you tuned in. But you can see there is a scattered and smothered Waffle House reference signal down here in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and even Arkansas. It's very scattered about, and here's the signal for ice. Not much there. A little bit of a signal for Louisiana and southern Mississippi. But if we kind of go back to the snowfall map on this and we look at the Euro ensemble, and we look at this, and we look at that, and you can see there's the first signal. That's the first storm right here. And you can see how, same thing with the blend of all models, you start to get scattered light snowfall amounts to the south. And we'll run this all the way through 300 hours out in the morning of the 14th. And you can you can see that there's members that hit and there's a lot of members that don't. And the strongest signal for snow is certainly in the heart of Texas, and then western Texas. And then obviously it's going to be nice when we get this storm out of the way, because we can get all this clutter that your eyes are probably immediately going to, and that'll be soon as we get over the next several days. But listen, I mean, I know that's not a very loud signal, and I would agree it's not. It's actually dropped off from yesterday. But if you're looking at the latest 06Z GFS ensemble, which by the way is still running, it's a little bit of a higher signal than the EPS, the Euro Ensemble. You see it has a signal down here. And like I said, this only runs to about the morning of the 13th. You compare that with, say, the overnight run, and what changes is the fact that it shifts south. Okay, so we're going to get a lot of back and forth, guys. A lot of back and forth with this, and this is going to be a tough one to figure out. You know, if I kind of go back to the OZ and kind of go throughout the rest of the run here, what you can notice here is it begins to fill in northern Texas. It tells me that there's going to be even other winter storm chances after this. Now let's go to the southeast. What are we showing for the southeast? Latest GFS run will start off Wednesday morning. I know this is where I got a lot of a lot of my audience. This is where you guys are tuning in from, the southeast. So we'll slow it down. This is Wednesday afternoon. Latest GFS that ran this morning brings that winter weather, and this is getting into the 9th of January. So next Thursday brings that a little week from today. So it's getting closer, guys. It brings that winter storm across the deep south. This is freezing rain is in the pink, orange is the sleet, blue is the snow. So you can see what's going on here. We start to get into, say, the middle of the night next Thursday. We got snow getting as far north as Tennessee. We got snow in northern Alabama, northern Mississippi. And then we got a snow event moving into Atlanta, the Cumberland Plateau, southwest NC Mountains. We got light snow starting to move into central South Carolina, up into the Piedmont, North Carolina. And then we get a nice little winter weather event based off the GFS into the central sections of South Carolina, northern Georgia. Brings snow across North Carolina. It's not a real super heavy event, but this continues and kind of just a little almost southern slider, and it does not go up the coast to the northeast, and then that heads on out. And is anything to follow after that? Yes, there is energy after that. I mean, you see a little bit of snow breaking out, and we keep it going all the way to the end of the run. Let's make sure we have the entire run on this. And here comes another amped up piece of energy as we're getting into the end of next weekend, and even that brings winter weather across more further northern sections, and it brings another winter weather event. And then does anything happen after that? Here comes the system. Not really. So that's it. So there's two little storm systems, and I want to show you more of the run because models are starting to like the idea of something else after this threat too. Now what about the Euro model? I've been calling this the buzzkill model lately because it's been a thief of joy, because it's not been showing much. But the European model, here it comes, Thursday into Friday, and our energy's there. You can see the energy. It's northern stream dominated, though. It's bringing light snow down into Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Georgia. It actually breaks out a little bit. This is all snow. I know it shows green right here, but I think the majority of this is snow. It breaks out some snow in the PD of South Carolina in the middle of the night next Friday into Saturday, some snow all the way down to Atlanta. And there's a lot going on here. In fact, there's a lot of energy swinging down here, but you can't see it. It's up in the air, right? There's a lot of energy swinging down with this trough, but it's a complete whiff. Low pressure develops well off the coastline, and it just does not do anything. But there is something there. You can see splotches of moisture everywhere, but it's a miss. And then we go even further out, and then there's that big winter storm to the north, really amped up system. So it just doesn't do anything for the southeast. It really just impacts areas of Tennessee. And I'll slow it down because I know I got people tuning in from this area, but this is over 300 hours out. Hard to focus too much on that. And then we look at the Canadian. Do we lose the Canadian? And when I say lose, that doesn't mean that it ain't going to come back. Canadian's really flat with the energy. There's that wintry mix in southern Louisiana. It even throws, a wintry mix all the way down into Gulfport, Mobile, and then it gets squashed and it never returns. So it's definitely a miss on the Canadian, and we go all the way to the rest of the event. Canadian doesn't show anything. Now, what about the Euro AI model, the latest one from overnight, the one that was showing big winter storms? Well, it does have an event. Here it comes. It's moving into pretty cold air, but it looks like most of the moisture is to the south. You can see a whole huge chunk of northern stream energy and southern stream energy right here. But there's just lack of connection. So the energy is still there. There's just been a south tick with this. And for people who's probably watching right now thinking, oh my gosh, man, now it ain't going to snow. Do not overreact one way or the other, guys. I would argue that it's better to have this system suppressed at this range than amped up. Now, if we get into early next week and this is still showing, then we're going to need a miracle to get a northern trend at the last second. But I think we're going to continue to have wild model swings. What about the blend of all models down here? Let's see if we have Now we only have the 09Z run. Same thing, a lot of clutter up here you see on your screen. We've already broke that down. If we move this forward here, here's the signal that begins to show up for some light snow across the deep south and the southeast. But yeah, admittedly guys, it's not as loud as it was last night. But this is going to go back and forth, back and forth. Just a little bit of a signal for some snow, just light snow events. And the reason it kind of looks more juiced up in Texas and then it kind of drops off in the deep south and gets rejuiced up in the Carolinas is because a lot of runs miss the deep south. I really think the deep south is going to rely on some phasing further west. The reason you're seeing more higher totals, even though this is nowhere close to high in the Carolinas, is because you have what we call late bloomers, which means the energy catches up just in time to pop off a low pressure off the Carolinas, and then we can get some moisture thrown back into cold air. So what about the ice signal? Yeah, not much there. So what about the Euro ensemble with this? Same thing. We'll kind of switch it to this, switch it to that, switch it to this. And once again, clutter up here, ignore that. What about the signal? Remember the Euro ensemble was something we were hanging our hat on there for a while. And I'll be honest, guys, it is dropped off. Well, this is the Euro, I'm sorry. Euro ensemble is right here. I have to switch about a million other things again. I'm sorry, guys. I was rolling pretty good there for a second. Euro ensemble, you know, you can see areas of the deep south begin to fill in. Okay, but it's definitely not as impressive as it was over the last several runs. So, is this a trend towards less precipitation? Probably. Could it trend right back? Absolutely. And I think someone in the south is still going to get some sort of winter weather event, a winter storm. And I think we're just going to get a lot of back and forth. In fact, you can see how some members, it snows in the Gulf. So I don't think cold air is going to be a huge issue for a lot of people. But we got to continue to watch this, guys. And, you know, you look at the Euro ensemble, see what it shows. And, yeah, I mean, it looks like you probably have one or two members that show a more southerly scenario. But the wild thing is with the GFS ensemble is you can see that there's a higher snowfall average further south for areas. And that is because, like I said, it's a suppressed scenario where, you know, hey, areas further south could get more winter weather than areas further north. And once we get all this up here out the way, we'll be able to really see what's going on better. But just focus on to the deep south. And we compare that to last night's run, and it definitely had more runs further to the north. So once again, we've had a little bit of a drop off, but if you notice here, let's look at this. We look at that. We have a little bit more of a snowfall mean to the south now. It's just, there's a lot of misses up here in the Piedmont Carolinas, and there's a lot of misses for the northern deep south and the mid-south. So yeah, we just got to continue to watch this, guys. And, you know, you look at the Canadian ensemble, too. Might as well. And it looks a lot better. But I think we're just going to have a lot of back and forth. And there's a guy named Eric Webb. He's very known in the weather community, very intelligent guy. I think he said it best. He says this is a very boom and bust scenario, meaning I don't think there's going to be much in between. I think that the boom scenario of this is we get a historic winter storm. The bust scenario is we get absolutely nothing. The only in-between scenario of this, in my opinion, is flurries. So we'll see. I could be totally wrong off that, but we'll see. So what is a boom scenario? I'm sorry, what is a bust scenario? If we look at the energy in the atmosphere here, this is what's going on. This is what is keeping us from getting a winter storm for the south. So I want you to kind of look at the energy kind of up here. Watch how it swings down, and then he's going to kind of drop down, and then watch how it gets stuck. Okay. So we move this forward here. That is the energy we need right here. Now, there's other pieces of energy that's going to swing down here too, but that is a main chunk of the energy. See how it gets stuck and it gets bogged down in the southwest, and it doesn't eject. Instead, it just gets jammed up over the Baja area, turns into kind of a Baja low. And all we get after that, and look at the time frame we're in, Thursday of next week, is a bunch of northern stream energy streaming down. So this is all coming down, but this can get the job done sometimes, but we really need that to cooperate. And this just kind of slides down and gets hung up in the southwest. We need that to come over here and kind of connect with some northern stream energy and all these little pieces of vortices that you're seeing right into here. So you can continue to keep this run going, guys. And this is just flat out not coming. It's going to come, but it's probably going to come too late. We just got a lot of northern stream energy, and that's what makes all them flurries that I showed you in the Euro in the southeast. It's just a bunch of, and it tries to get its act together right here, but it's too late. It's still very what we call positively tilted. It's tilting this way, and it's a weak system, and it's just not going to get the job done. Now, after that, you can see a good example of a phasing system. Here comes northern stream energy, southern stream energy, and that's what makes that bigger winter storm, even though that's positively tilted also a little bit later in the run. Now, what's a boom situation? A boom situation is what happened in yesterday afternoon's GFS run. Here comes the energy dropping down. Yes, it tries to get hung up in the southwest again, but then it's able to break loose. And as it does, that is it right there. A little bit of energy gets hung up in the southwest, but the big chunk of the main energy gets out the southwest, ejects across the southern plains. So at this point, we have this energy and we have this energy. And they're about to do something special on this run. And as we go, you see how they begin to connect. As they do, this thing takes on more of a neutral tilt, and then it begins to tilt almost negatively in a way. And then all of a sudden, we get a big winter storm. So you see how those dots connected right there? Boom, connection. This thing begins to wrap up, and then it turns into a major winter storm for areas of the deep south and the Carolinas. So there's a huge difference there. And even though energy gets hung up down here, you see, because you're probably thinking, well, I see energy hung up in the southwest down here too. Well, the initial energy that dives down right here does not. Okay, there's energy all over the atmosphere. That gets loose, and then just a random piece of energy gets lost down here in the southwest. But I think it's inevitable. I think we're going to get just energy hung up down here. And in my opinion, this is all because of, I just think it's because of improper ridging. If you kind of look at what's going on here, you see how this ridge is tilting this way. You don't want that. You need this ridge to spike up into Alaska. So what's going on is this energy is diving down here, and it's following the path around the side of the ridge, and then it's getting jammed up down here. And you can actually see that blue blob, which is the lower pressure. It kind of comes down here, and you can see it, just show up down here. It just gets kind of shoved down here, and this becomes a northern stream dominated pattern. And that is the fail mode with this pattern. It's absolutely a fail mode. So that's all I got. There it is, geeking out with you. As far as today's weather, we got energy shooting across the middle of the country. We got a lot of lake effect snow. We got snow twirling around up here in Maine. A little bit of energy out west also. So this is kind of what's going on now. Watches, warnings, and advisories. We got winter storm watches out for southeast Nebraska. And then this section right here of Kansas. Winter storm watches for the storm we just broke down. And then we have some winter weather advisories for the Clipper that's going to move through later tonight. And then we just have a load of lake effect snow warning south of Buffalo to Erie, almost down to Cleveland. And we have winter storm watches up here. Just a lot going on just because of the lake effect energy. We got winter weather advisories that will expire in the next day or so in the UP of Michigan. And then we got alerts out here. We got winter storm watches up for Montana for the system on the way. And yeah, that's what's going on right this second. Now Tropical Tidbits is down. So we have to look at Weather Bell. But as far as the southeast today, it's pretty quiet. Do we get into the overnight hours? Maybe some showers for southern Louisiana. And then we're going to get some energy that moves in maybe overnight into tomorrow morning, really. And I think we could wake up to maybe some flurries around the NC Virginia state line. But as far as the next 24 hours, we'll break down this Clipper here in a second. Could wake up to some snow showers in the Cumberland Plateau tomorrow morning. But the next 24 hours looks quiet. Now the northeast, lake effect snow. Lake-to-lake connection, Lake Huron, Lake Superior, all the way to Ontario and Erie. And these lake effect squalls and snow showers will break containment. Stretch all the way to the southern New England. We'll continue to have light snow dancing around up here in northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, northern Maine. And then look at these little streamers near Erie as we're getting into this evening. And then we start to get into tomorrow morning. And I think some more kind of put together snow will start to move into Pittsburgh, Ohio. You're getting snow. We'll show more of Ohio in the next north central frame. But the common theme over the next 24 hours, folks, is lake effect snow. But as we're starting to get into tomorrow, there's the clipper, the leftovers of it. And I'm telling you, this is going to surprise some people, maybe from DC to Baltimore to Philadelphia. Tomorrow afternoon, this clipper will move through, and this will kind of be the pre-event for what's to come later in the weekend into early next week. So it looks like y'all just got some snowy times ahead. Enjoy it. You guys deserve it for sure. You've been whiffed a lot lately, but I mean, check it out. This isn't tomorrow evening. This is a area of heavy snow moving through northern Maryland, southeast areas of PA, and getting into New Jersey. And I mean, this could surprise some people. But as far as snowfall and what they're calling for, it's glitched up down here. You're not going for almost 4 feet of snow in West Virginia. But Erie going for about 15 inches of snow over the next 2 days. Telkio Plateau, people are going to get over a foot. And then Western PA is going to get a few inches of snow. And it's not giving you a lot of love for the Delmarva with this. Only a few tenths of an inch of snow to around an inch. So they're not thinking it's going to be a lot, but that could change. That could definitely change. So the south central U.S., it's quiet. Not a whole lot going on today. Some shower activity along the Gulf coastline in Texas, Louisiana. But for the most part, pretty nice day down here. And then the north central U.S., lake effect snow up in Superior. Nothing too crazy. And then we're going to have the clipper that begins to move in later this afternoon. This will deliver a swath of accumulating snow out of Iowa. And then eventually across the northern half of Illinois. Could bring a little snow to Chicago. And then the swath of snow will make it all the way down into Indiana, Ohio. Later tonight, lake effect snows continue to go off Lake Michigan and Huron. And then we go down to Indiana, switch it to this. And you can see the snow. This is this evening. This is getting into the overnight hours. Look at the snow as far south as northern Kentucky. I mean, this could be a heavy burst of snow tonight. And this will move even into Charleston. I mean, Charleston, like West Virginia, could get some snow off this. Eastern Kentucky. And then we're just going to get a lot of northwest flow action into Ohio tomorrow. A lot of snow showers flying around. And, could be there even late tomorrow night into Kentucky. So as far as snowfall in this area, a swath of a few inches is possible in the southern half of Iowa. And then you can see it's not going to snow 33 inches of snow in southeast Ohio, but a few inches of snow is possible in Ohio. A little bit of snow is possible in Kentucky. And yeah, now as far as out west, I'm sorry, a big storm system is going to move through, and this is our big one. We've been locking on the models for this in a while. And here it comes, bringing a lot of rain for just about everybody. Even the higher elevations of like the Cascades struggling to get snow out of this. Once you get into Idaho, Montana, different story. Got more cold air to work with. And this continues, guys. And just a big storm system for sure. Temperatures today, these are highs. Running out of gas, guys, so I'm going to move through this pretty fast. High temperatures across central U.S. today. Single digits up here. Oof. And then the western U.S. This is what it looks like. Oof. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you again. I'll talk to you again tonight. I'll try to get caught up with the comments today. I am ridiculously behind, folks. I am so behind. It's almost to the point where I don't think I'll ever get called back up. So I'll do what I can later this afternoon over the next couple of days. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you again soon.